Welcome to the Honest Money Show. Thanks to our sponsor Bitteroo for making today's episode possible, Australia's biggest Bitcoin-only exchange. Hi, Michael.
Hi, how are you, Anya? Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on.
My pleasure.
How's your day?
Good. Windy as hell, like windy as anything. Sydney is like blowing, I don't know, like 40 knot an hour winds at the moment. So it's nuts. But it's sunny,
Nice.
so I'll take that.
Nice. And your recent trip in North Queensland, how was that?
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah, I went up to, it's actually near where the Bush Bash is, near Palm Cove. Unbelievable. Like, it's beautiful weather. Like, in North, like the tropic, like the top end of Queensland or like Australia, it's like basically nice weather 24/7. You know, but summer, it's like 48 degrees or something. So you don't really want to be there in summer, but in winter, it's like, 26 to 30 or something. So it was awesome. And now I've come
Nice.
back and Trump's dropped bombs on the nuclear site. Then they retaliated after the peace, and Bitcoin's ripping on the back of that. And everything is turning into a Bitcoin Treasury company. And yeah, my head is spinning right now. Like, absolutely spinning.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of open up Twitter or look at the news without something new popping up in that space.
Yep.
I feel like, I'm only new to Bitcoin, so I haven't done a few cycles, and it seems like every day there's so many good news. Was this always the case, like back in the day?
Nope. So back in the day, the way that things went is there's always been these different narratives through time, right, with Bitcoin's arc. And so, right now you hear Microsoft is adopting a Bitcoin treasury strategy. Oh my God. And everyone gets excited. Or that's the announcement, right? They're waiting for the brand name adopts XYZ, whatever XYZ is. Today it's Bitcoin treasuries. Back in the day, in 2014, it was the biggest thing that people would announce, and they'd ride the Bitcoin community for it, which was they get a real big promotion from them, was similar to Steak and Shake, that burger place that started accepting Bitcoin in America. Basically, accepting Bitcoin as a merchant form of payment to merchants, and that was the big one. So Overstock.com, I don't know if you've ever heard of them, but they were like, the CEO was like the Michael Saylor before Saylor was Saylor. Do you know what I mean? So they were a massive distributor or a massive online store, and they started accepting Bitcoin for payments. And then I think his name was Patrick, who was the CEO at the time. He went on to be like, yep, Bitcoin, and fully leaned into it. He wanted to build like an exchange and really evangelized it. And that was the big brands coming into Bitcoin. So this company accepts Bitcoin. This company accepts Bitcoin. And it was a race to kind of try and find, to get the real estate of which brands will be accepting, Bitcoin for payment. At the time, actually, Ethereum didn't exist. Ethereum hadn't launched yet. That's how early that was. So it was like so many moons ago. I think it was actually the year that Ethereum launched, or maybe the year before that. But yeah, we see these ebbs and flows, and that happens with everything that's a community-orientated product or protocol. Because Bitcoin is a network, we're all on the same team. So that's why you feel this rising tide lifts all boats. And then, if one person gets a black eye, we all get a black eye. And that was the thing that would happen quite a lot, which was good news would lift everyone and bad news would pull everyone down. And it's sort of like that at the moment, just at a different scale. But, directly back to your question, it was never always like this. Right now, every company is either buying Bitcoin, every company is either raising money to buy Bitcoin, every company is trying to figure out how to accept Bitcoin. It's everywhere. And I've noticed as well that Bitcoin's had a chance to partition itself from crypto. Like, do you know what I mean? Where it's like crypto is like the, like a circus almost. But like, it's almost like Bitcoin said, nah, I'm boring. And everyone goes, yeah, Bitcoin's boring, but crypto. But that's been a really good thing. Like, sovereign wealth funds and nation states, they don't mine coins that are in the circus. They're going for like the big Moby Dick kind of thing. And that's like, they're going for the kill shot. Bitcoin's it. They're not like, oh, how can we make, 10 million today pumping penny stocks? They're not really into that. They're like, how do we build the foundations for the next 100 years of wealth for this country? And that's
Yeah.
like such a bigger question. And when you think about it at that scale, you
Mm.
realize that half the circus doesn't matter, basically. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's like these guys are operating on a different level. Oh, no, they're going
for
to pump
sure.
my coin, pump my coin. No, 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 no. They are astronomically further along and they are trying to build like real primitive foundations. That's why you go to Bitcoin. You can't really use any other asset. It's just a circle jerk. They're
Yeah.
not liquid enough, not big enough, not secure enough, not enough track record. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's heaps of meat on the bone in the industry right now. Like it's just there's so much to go through. It's hard to
For
keep up.
sure. Yeah. I've also noticed, like you would have heard in the news, that Australia has finally joined the party. So we have a first publicly listed company who, Locate Technologies. Have you heard? Yeah.
Which
So
one?
Locate Technologies. They're an
Oh,
ASX listed
local.
company.
Wait.
Locate. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So they have announced a Bitcoin treasury. Basically, I think they've already acquired 10 Bitcoin. I saw that on
Yep.
Twitter, so I haven't verified it. But it's very
Yep.
interesting because, US is very much leading in this space. And then I wondered when it was going to happen in Australia. And it's already
Yeah.
happened. And I think they're
Yep.
going to, yeah, definitely, hopefully set an example for others.
I think so. I think there's two sides to it. And I do think there'll be a lot of those treasury companies in all different markets. But I definitely think we'll see lots of them just springing up everywhere. The opportunity's too big and companies are too bad at doing what they do. Do you know what I mean? Like they're like companies are run by human beings as well. Human beings, just like you and me, they get lazy. And like if there's a way to make way more money way easier, the companies will flock to that. Well,
Yeah.
what? Organize 38 insurance providers for supply chain factoring to sell 10,000 rubber duckies with a 3 cent margin on it. Like, it's even hard saying that sentence. People won't even
Yeah.
bother. So I think actually it's quite interesting because you'll see this like narrow concentration of products from these companies. So basically right now, everyone does lots of things. Like Apple's got hardware, software, vision, da da da. That's to increase revenue. They build more product lines to increase revenue. As revenue or the wealth starts growing for these companies, they're going to look back and be like, okay, we can spend 3 years in R&D making the Apple TV 2, and then we can try and sell 10 million of them, and that'll net us 10 billion in profit, or we could buy 10,000 Bitcoins and wait for them to appreciate over the 8 years that it would take us to go from R&D to shipping the product and selling it. That times 5,000. If there's 5,000 CEOs of public companies, there is 5,000 people that will think exactly that way. They've got a
Yeah.
fiduciary responsibility, basically. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of these zombie companies that were zombies basically pop up and just be placeholders for Bitcoin, holding Bitcoin, and that's where their
Yeah.
value is captured. So I think directionally it makes sense. There's obviously community, like parts of the community that have got the shits with it, and they think it's a bit scam coiny and altcoiny, and it does have an element of that to it. The premise of Bitcoin treasury companies is powerful, but in their current state, here's a message for every Bitcoin treasury company CEO. If you guys are using Twitter as a mechanism for gaining, traction and momentum and incepting the idea of your, the stock ticker code and starting a group on Twitter and getting all the hype. If you do that, that's a cheap win. And so what you will get is all those people that love you for that second, the moment the next Semler comes along or Smarter Web or Metaplanet, they'll rotate their capital straight out of yours and into that new one because they know the trade works. If you invest in MicroStrategy pre and post Bitcoin, the trade works. Metaplanet, the trade works. Smarter Web, the trade works. So they know the trade, but if Metaplanet's too big now, I can't make enough money trading their stock. I don't want that. And so I want to go to the new one. Oh, it's 1 cent a stock? Oh, cool. And they've got no Bitcoins yet, but they're planning to buy lots of Bitcoin. Fuck yeah. Like that is almost like a kind of like a no-brainer in a way, like that
Yeah.
plays out in any market always. And so
Yeah.
people are watching now. They're like, oh my God, Saylor just announced he bought 10,000 Bitcoin. Nothing's happened to the price. It's like, well, firstly, they're so liquid now, you can't dent the price that easily. But people are rotating capital out of that into Fold, Smarter Web, Semler, Metaplanet, and the list just goes on. But every company will sort of be one of those companies in the next eight years. That feels way too long though, so I'd probably go
It
with
does, doesn't
four.
it? Yeah,
Yeah,
for
feels
sure.
far too long.
Yep. Do you think that Bitcoin is well understood in Australia, like particularly in the traditional finance sector? Do you think people really
No,
understand? No,
terribly.
okay.
I speak to those guys all the time. Smartest people you've ever met. They don't know anything about critical, well, not literally, but it's not people, a lot of people haven't wrapped their head around it. And we have an ETF, monochrome, which is doing awesome. I think they're about to hit 1,000 BTC, which is, a lot of people look at that and they're used to the US numbers. BlackRock's got 600,000 coins. Having 1,000 coins in the monochrome ETF, like as a product, it is actually a really decent product from memory. Like they're doing really well. So the market is not really understanding it right now. Australia's got, how we've got tall poppy syndrome or whatever it's called. Sometimes
Yeah.
people go, oh, what? Nah, screw that. You made money from, I'm not listening to that. Nah, screw that. And so there's I don't know. Mate, you'd think of it as complacency, but I actually don't think of it like that. I think of it more like just varied interests. Like our economy, like we're not in a good spot right now, like in terms of
No.
housing and shit like that. But I don't know, we
Yeah.
just haven't had the exposure. Bitcoin in
Yep.
general hasn't hit in Australia as much as it's hit in, I'd say, like the US and stuff like that. But where it has hit, it is transformed. So like, maybe like 80% of people that find out about Bitcoin and learn about it become hardcore, very knowledgeable people. Like we've got some really brilliant minds. You've got like Stefan Livera, podcast. He's got a huge following. Catan, Ministry of Nodes, tremendous following. And like these guys are real subject matter authorities at their craft in
Yeah.
this sub niche of the industry. And like I think, there's a lot of people in Australia that have got really powerful voices, I think, for the community. And I think that's cool. I love like the Bush Bash is by far the best
It's my favorite.
experience. Oh, it's 1,000%. It is the best thing ever.
There's
It's
nothing
like,
there's nothing like it. I love the concept, and every time I travel overseas, I share it with like the local
yeah,
organizers. And yeah, when I went to Bali, I actually visited Bitcoin Bali House and I told them about the concept. And I know that they've rejigged the way that they organize the Indonesia conference to make it
yeah.
more grassroots. And I wonder how much I had to do with that. Like, I'll
Hey,
have to ask them.
nice.
And I'll be like, was this me? Was it me?
Yeah, and then you can collect your royalty check.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But it's such a
that is the thing. Like, and I mean, like the Bush Bash, right? Like, it's so good because it's very casual. It's relaxed. Like, it's chill. No one, you walk in, you're not paying a big fee to get in there.
but
Yes,
it's
you've got to
free.
drive
Yeah.
very far to get there. So, for the audience that doesn't know, the Bush Bash is an Australian sort of Bitcoin. It's not a conference and it's not a meetup. It's like the perfect hybrid. It's like a 3-day meetup almost. But the
Yeah.
proof of work to make sure, so when the organizers created it, they wanted to make sure that everyone there was really there for the right reasons. So they put it basically a 6-hour drive from everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, that means that if you are there, you've given a shit to get there. Do you know what I mean? It's not like you've swept people in off the sidewalk in Darling Harbour and said, hey, come in here to our conference. It's
Yeah.
really like 150 or 200 people or 100 people of just straight signal. Like
Yeah.
really brilliant thinkers. I find I learn so much when I go to those things. Like you'll go to a dinner and you'll sit next to people, you just think like, far out. Some of these cats are so bright. Like just the stuff they think of is just, I don't know. It's different, but it's always encouraging when you hear and see that. You're like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
If you saw a bunch of idiots, you'd think, oh shit, I got to start selling my Bitcoins. But it's the
Yeah.
complete antithesis.
I love it. Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's almost like the most unassuming group of people that, you just your everyday person, you cross on the street, you wouldn't really think, they're there. anyone special, so to speak.
Yeah. And then
you
you
speak
crack
to them,
open
it's
their
like,
brains and
yeah,
it's
it's
like,
like,
whoa. Yeah.
yep, the most amazing minds, the most amazing speakers and storytellers, and
Yeah.
yeah, just like I agree with you, high signal. I learn so much every time. I remember the first time I went. After the 3 days, I was exhausted. My
Exhausted.
brain was
Yeah.
exhausted because my brain like just took up so much energy, and I learned so much, and I took so many notes. For podcasts to listen to and books to read, and yeah, the quality of conversations you have there are unlike anywhere else, and yeah, I highly recommend it to anyone.
Yes.
That yeah. But I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the Bitcoin adoption in Australia and why
Hmm.
you think we are lagging behind the rest of the world. Is it like a cultural thing? Is it like, what are
Yeah.
some of your
Well,
theories?
I'll tell you what. So in Australia, one of the biggest things, property has been our store of value, basically. And because we have such a educated property market. Like everyone's thinking about, buying property and property. It's almost like they're saturated. Like it's so ingrained into us with property in general. I think that it feels like that. It's not mean. It means like Australia is punching well above its weight in this industry by light years. But I mean, like, would traditional finance people get it right now? It doesn't feel like there's much of a flavor or appetite. It's still a like there's no, hey, how do we get on top of this? And because if there was someone like that, they will shoot a rocket out of the ASX. Like they will be so far in front of everyone else. And I think that'll happen. I think you'll get Bitcoin treasury companies to Australia, and that will start lighting the fire on, oh my God, what is this thing and why is it smoking every other asset on the market? Well, it's
Yeah.
smoking it because it doesn't use the same assets as everything on the market. It uses the other thing. Oh, well, the other thing looks pretty damn good at the moment. Yeah, Metaplanet's number one in Japan. MicroStrategy's number one in the US, and Australia's waiting to have something like that. And I think it'll come in probably the next 3 or 6 months. It should be actually quite interesting because Australia's market is a bit different because we've got superannuation, which is like a guaranteed funnel of liquidity that goes into the market because those super funds have to buy and spend their money. So I think that's quite interesting on how that changes the dynamic. Yeah, I don't know, but I think we're definitely punching above our weight. I just think that the non-Bitcoin people feel further away than they do in other countries or something. I don't know. It's hard to
Yeah.
explain.
Yeah, no, I completely get it. It's something that I always wonder. It's like, how can I help these people get curious enough about it to want to
Yeah.
go down, the path of studying it and understanding it more rather than just dismissing it. And
Yeah.
like, I have a background in marketing, so one of the sort of facts that I love is, before you purchase a product or a service, you may typically have 16 to 20 interactions with that product or service before you make the decision to buy. So
Mm.
yeah, so it doesn't help that like the mainstream media is largely negative, has a negative sentiment towards Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
all the experts in the space are really drowned out by, I guess, some of that mainstream media that doesn't quite understand the technology and doesn't understand the value of it. So
Yeah.
yeah, for me, I
I
feel
mean,
like my
our
job is
RBA as well, the
yeah,
Reserve Bank, they said, oh, yeah, we're not looking at that right now and we don't find it interesting or something. It's like,
yeah,
you guys are broke. Do you understand that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, all these people telling me, like, bankers, institutions and stuff, they're like, we don't really like it. It's like, you guys have cooked the entire financial system multiple times. In fact, the current financial system is so bad that they have broken it. Like they break it once every 20 years. In 2008, it broke. So we get a bailout. Breaks again, bail them out. It's like, I don't want, like, that's just not, like, that's like saying, hey, do you want to eat this moldy sandwich? It's like, no, it's got mold on it. It's like, oh, do you want to put your money in this financial market? No, they're not good at what they do. Like,
yeah,
that's just a common sense thing. Oh, they've never successfully finished the game and the game's been restarted multiple times. Okay, someone doesn't know what they're doing there. I'm not saying every person's an idiot. They're just getting in and cashing in. That's what everyone in finance does. But is it a good system? No, it's terrible. If it was good, it'd be persistent. And that's why Bitcoin's good, because it's persistent. It won't change whether it's, the stock market in 1930, 1960, 1990, 2020. It's still the exact same mechanics underneath it. And that's what Bitcoin will be in the future. It'll be something that we go, wow, it hasn't changed in like 50 years. Holy moly. And that will be the outlying kind of feature of it, is its resilience, I think. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I think there's a lot of ignorance to it as well, because I think there's twofold. Yeah, I think there's a lot of ignorance to it. Just like with people, if you're making money in property, it's very hard for me to convince you to come to Bitcoin and learn about it and blah, 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 blah. When you've been saving for 5 years, you just bought your first investment property or whatever it is, that's awesome. But it's very hard to, what they say? It's like it's harder to teach someone who already knows something than it is to teach a blank canvas. And so I think it might be a bit of that, where people have kind of already got this conceptual way of developing and building wealth through acquiring property or something like that, which is totally fine and makes complete sense. I'm just lazy. I don't want to go and have to meet a tenant and try and get the plumber in and then wait for the carpet guy to come fix the water damage from the walls, like whatever the fuck it is. Too busy, too much. Bitcoin, way easier. Buy it, don't do anything, and then that's it. And I suppose it comes down to our ability to not do anything, which is quite hard, because in this day and age, we're always fidgeting with shit. And so it's like, oh, maybe I'll just sell this or sell that. So it becomes like a cerebral challenge where you've got to do all the cerebral work, but no physical work. And yeah.
Yeah, I've recently started an Instagram account for this podcast, and because the algorithm doesn't recognize, it treats Bitcoin as crypto, it's all under the same bucket. So it's clearly serving me content that is in this space. And I've come across recently, across some Australian influencers on crypto, and the messaging that they're providing is very different to what the messaging you hear from Bitcoiners is. For example, I came across a guy yesterday, he had like 50,000 followers on Instagram, and he's selling courses, and he's very much making it seem like you need a strategy, and I'm the only person who knows how to give you this strategy. That's the approach that they're taking. Whereas Bitcoiners are more like, you don't need a strategy, you just need to learn about it, learn how to hold it for at least 4 years, and you'll definitely make money in it.
Most of the time, with those courses though, join my trading course to outsmart the market with this one simple trick. Dude, most of those are cash grabs for the creator of the course. That doesn't mean that the course is bad. I'm just saying that they're a cash grab for the creator. The creator needs money. That's the first thing. So it's like, oh, you need money, and you're telling me how to make money. Something doesn't add up right there. In my opinion. So it's like, oh, if you're so good at making money, give it away for free. If it's that beneficial. And that's why Bitcoiners don't have that insecurity, I don't think, because they buy Bitcoin and it's like, dude, if I get you to buy Bitcoin or whatever, that's what's good for the geese is good for the gander kind of thing. And so there's much less gatekeeping of knowledge or whatever. It's more just like, yeah, man, let me lift you up. Here's how I got started. And I think that's such a healthier approach to something that is so intimidating. I think Bitcoiners are typically trying to preserve wealth. Crypto people are trying to make money. And I think there's a bit of a difference.
That's a huge distinction. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very big distinction. And I think encoded in those distinctions is the mindset, the behavior, the discipline, the value, whatever it is. But the focus is different. One is trying to make money to pay bills or acquire Bitcoin, which is what, we all work in fiat land to make money to buy Bitcoin to increase our stack. So a lot of people do crypto trading. I've got heaps of friends that do that. They make a bag on that stuff and they convert it to Bitcoin, and that's how they accumulate Bitcoin. And it's like, okay, well, that's not the right approach, but okay, sure. Do you? And so I think it's like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a distance between the two. And that's
Yeah.
actually a healthy thing because, I don't want, everyone can do what they want, but I don't think it's a good branding thing for Bitcoin in general to be encouraging trading, basically. Like, that's not how you win with
Yeah.
this game. The game's
Yeah.
not about trading. In fact, the best traders' performance typically have one entry, and that's like buying Bitcoin, and that's it, because their performance is going to be so good relative to trades and trade size. They're just going to be like, yeah, I bought Bitcoin once and I haven't touched it. My
Yeah.
portfolio is up 30,000%. It's like, or
Yeah.
whatever it is, right? Like whatever the thing is. But that's much more powerful, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, each to their own. I have no problems. Everyone can do themselves and do them. But yeah, I
For
just think
sure.
specifically for Bitcoin, there's less to know,
Yeah.
like,
In my stalking adventures of your profile,
yeah.
I can't remember what school you went to, but you're from like a traditional finance background.
Yeah, well, like, yeah, basically. I worked in like, I'm like a shit student. I'm the kid that like dropped out of uni, all that kind of stuff. Like, not like some of these cats are real smart. And they're like, yeah, they went to Harvard and then they went to Google and then they went to fucking MIT. I'm the
Yeah.
total not that. I'm the drop kick kind of thing. So for me, I went to high school in Hunters Hill, and then I went to college at University of Technology in Sydney, which was. Oh, and I went to Bathurst University, which is another like out in the sticks. But yeah, I didn't finish my degrees. But then after that, I got a job in finance, which is it was like a financial software company that did portfolio management and rebalancing for financial advisors and their clients. And so, basically it's like, hey, this client's 75 years old, but they're in a really high risk portfolio. We need to rebalance that. And it was all the software around that. And yeah, but my approach from Bitcoin, like, the way it wasn't like, oh, cool, finance and Bitcoin, this is a perfect match. It was more like finance was just sort of where I was because I enjoyed it working with numbers. But, finance, yeah, I think that or like where I came from was more around video games because I really liked video games. And I was like, oh, mad, an online currency. Sweet. Now every game can have the same currency instead of like, paying for one thing in one game. And then you go to the new game and, the sword that you just paid $9 for as an in-app purchase or whatever isn't there. And so it's like, well, that'd be cool if all the games ran on the same currency. And it'd be even cooler if the internet ran on this currency. And so that's where I was like, oh, sick, Bitcoin. I just like looked around and at the time there was no exchanges, I don't think. So me and a couple of other dudes chipped in some money to buy some coins. And then that was sort of the first entry into it. Just as like whoa, what's this? So yeah.
Magic internet money.
Which literally, it was much more it was much more in line with that magic
Yeah.
internet money and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
going to ask you, but you might not remember, because I forget, and I've only entered last year. But like, do you
Yep.
remember what some of those critical aha moments were in your journey to understanding
Thousand
Bitcoin? Because
percent.
I feel like
The biggest by a billion years, the biggest aha moment that I had was the block size wars in 2017. So I was a CEO at Wire and we were a really big company and we had a lot of infrastructure that was powering a lot of the other liquidity providers or wallet services and stuff. And the block size wars came about, which was in 2017, and it's where Bitcoin split into two groups: those that wanted to increase the block size and those that wanted to make the block size not change. And my initial reaction was like, yeah, sweet, that's mad. That doesn't bother me. And then I got like the resident maxis in our company, the Bitcoin maxis basically. And I asked them, I was like, guys, what's your take on this and which way should we go? You guys are closest to the protocol. What's your opinion on it? And can you help me understand everything? And the email, they drafted the email back to one of our investors who was asking for us to participate in saying, yes, increase the block size. But I didn't want to do that unless the maxis approved it, because they know more than I do, just in general. Like, they're closer to it, they're more passionate at the time. And what happened was I saw 57, or basically all but 3 companies in the industry approve it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's going ahead then. And then all the node runners on the network said, nah, we're not doing that. And it became like, whoa, even though Coinbase has got 20 million users, BitPay had, 1 million merchants or whatever, that doesn't mean shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that didn't matter, because the nodes are the one that vote on whether we're increasing the block size or not. And then you realize, okay, so Coinbase, while it's got 20 million users and a lot of influence, it doesn't run 20 million nodes. It only runs 1 or, 8 or something like that. So their voice isn't as loud as their brand when it comes to the network. And that was a big aha moment for me.
Start saving in Bitcoin with Bitaroo, Australia's biggest Bitcoin-only exchange. Bitaroo offers easy tools and advanced features. Join thousands of happy users making their first Bitcoin purchase today. Download the app or visit bitaroo.com.au.
Oh, right. The nodes matter. Not your brand, not the size of your startup, not your investor roster, the nodes. And that was a tremendous learning curve for me, because that's when I go, aha, these guys are the backbone of the whole network, which means the entire industry rests on these nodes. And that really showed me the dynamic of who's in charge. Not who's in charge, but more like, what do you have to delicately manage? That is the critical thing. Like, that's the red button for the nuclear warhead or whatever is the nodes. They are the first class citizens of the network. And so that was huge for me, because it might sound technical, but it basically is like, the people's voice comes through. That's what the nodes are. Nodes are like one vote, one person, basically. And seeing that overwhelm these humongous brands with incredible distribution, that's when I realized, okay, that's the conversation. We're not in startup land. This is a network for the whole world. And if you're a node runner, you get a say. Doesn't matter if you've got a podcast, doesn't matter if you've, raised 100 million, doesn't matter if you've got $1 billion in revenue. You run a node, that's your vote. Whether you're 10 foot tall, 2 foot tall, 300 kilos, 100 kilos, doesn't matter. Node's a node. And so I think that was a real big eye opener for me. I was just like, whoa. And since then, I've been really hung up on that same premise. Maybe I'm just like a trauma injury from the block size wars or something. But like, it's like, I think now I just don't want change, because I saw how divisive it gets. And the problem is with things that have tensile strength, like networks, it's like networks are held together by the strength of the connections, right? In the same way, think of a glass panel in the exact same way as a network. But just instead of the nodes being sparse, they're very, very close together. So, when you break glass, or in those shark movies, a shark will swim into the glass and it will put a crack down it. And it's like, uh-oh, the shark's crack. And then the next cracks start. And then they all basically, once you put one crack in the tensile strength of the canvas, the next crack is much easier to basically come. And that's what we saw. Once Bitcoin hard forked in 2017, we saw it go to Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin Cash people, that then split again to Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin ABC or SV or something. And so what it goes to show is that it's less about the argument itself and more, some people want more and some people want to keep it as is. In general, because the people that wanted the change went to another protocol, they split off, and then they got more change than they bargained for, because then that split itself. So it was like, 1 into 2 into 3 into 8 into 6 or whatever it is, basically just kept halving or splitting. And so that's why, especially lately with like Bitcoin Core and Bitcoin Knots, I think my side is more on the Knots conversation, but that leans mainly because if I had to pick one or two, like between either of them, I'd pick Knots purely out of simplicity. Like, the simplicity of the message. This is Bitcoin. It's a monetary network. Use it to store value. But
Not
Core
monkey
is kind of,
JPEGs.
yeah, and Core's sort of saying, no, it's not our decision to make. It's like, that's like a parent saying to their child, like, oh, well, we can't tell our child what to do. We're not going to say no to them having ice cream for breakfast. Like, anyone with their head on their shoulders goes, yeah, I understand you don't want to censor your kids. No worries. Do you think there's a difference between censoring and educating? Like, obviously, I think that's a thing. But what it showed me was there's a huge divide in understanding the protocol. And I'm not saying I understand it. I'm not saying anyone does, but I'm just saying there's a division in the outlook of the protocol. And I think when you add complexity in any distributed system, doesn't matter if it's a group of people or a network of nodes, when you add any complexity, you add risk of undoing all the hardness that you've already got. Ethereum's a really good example. Everyone does everything on Ethereum, but Ethereum as a protocol and as money is getting cannibalized. It was at 2100 4 years ago. It's at 2300 now.
I thought it was still at 21.
Yeah, it doesn't catch the upside. And that doesn't catch the upside because there's so much cannibalizing behavior happening on it. Like the L2s are bleeding ETH dry, like as the network, in my opinion. And then you've got Solana, which is not attacking it, but competing against it. So this lack of focus is really bad in general, because when you make rules for everyone, which means you make a product for everyone, you make a product for no one. And if you have a product for no one, then you have no alignment. If you have no alignment, you have no direction. If you've got no direction, you start staying stagnant. And that's exactly what the economic activity in Ethereum's price sort of says. It says it's just spinning its wheels, almost like a loading sign just going around in circles. 2100, 2100. Now, I'm not saying obviously it's gone up and down, but I'm just saying in general, it hasn't caught its new big leg up. Like if it was matching Bitcoin and running in the same way, it would be at 8 to 12K right now. And so I think I don't like risking confusion. Bitcoin's hard to understand for the smartest people in the industry, let alone the person that's just coming in. If I get to talk to someone about Bitcoin, I don't want to have to say, yeah, you can do money. Oh, but you can do JPEGs. Oh, but you can also do this and that. It's like, you've lost me. Like people click off your video. Like ask any content creator. If you don't have a hook to get people straight away, bye. You're at the end of the river. I got 1,000 other useless bits of content waiting for me that will give me entertainment straight off the bat. And if your hook in the first 1 to 3 seconds of let's say it's a reel on Facebook or it's a TikTok, that's the audience. So in the moment you add any confusion, bye, no, I've got too many options, bye, I'm over it. So any person that's evangelizing for that, they may have self-interest for it, as in that might be very beneficial to them. But, I think Bitcoin's power lies when people put the network before their self-interest. And that's where it gets really gnarly. In terms of a powerful thing, imagine every single person had the same answers for Bitcoin questions. That is a maximum alignment. And that is really strong because it's very, very hard to break. It's almost like trying to break a religion. You can't really break a religion because the core value system is so strong and so widely distributed. Christianity doesn't come out slapping new rules on the 10 Commandments. They don't come out with the 2020 version of the 10 Commandments. So I think, a lot of the people in the space are hung up on Bitcoin as a product. Oh, cool, it can do this. It's well, it is that. But think of it more I don't know, like an ethos or something. I don't know. That's just my take from things I've seen. I'm not saying I'm right at all. But I just find that feels like what's happening. It feels well, if you've evangelized for one thing so aggressively, a few years ago, and now you're not evangelizing for it and you're actually opposing what you're evangelizing for, that's confusing. So what happens is 20, 30, 40, 50 people in the industry waste their time arguing, waste their time debating about it, and da-da-da-da-da. It's exhausting. You're all on the same team. Shut the fuck up. Part of my language, but shut the fuck up. Dude, it's how bored are you that you need to figure out problems? people also don't respect the old system enough. And that's a really bad thing, because it's like going into a sport where you're a one-on-one sport and you don't respect your opponent's abilities. Like, that's a terrible recipe for preparation. It's a terrible recipe for execution. You should plan for the worst and hope for the best in that context. And I just think that that's kind of been omitted a bit, where people think Bitcoin's reached escape velocity, it can't be touched, blah, blah, blah. Oh, no, it absolutely can. The only reason why it hasn't been attacked so aggressively is because the incentive is actually more to not attack it. You make more money by just buying it and holding it. And that's one of the biggest deterrents, is like, people are like, well, why would I want to break this thing? This thing has given me, a whole new lease on life. It's opened my brain up. If I didn't do anything, but I could assure that everyone else that used it got the same level of awesomeness from it, that's a huge win. That is leveling up the whole planet. So if Bitcoin is under 5% of the total adoption rate of the world, right? Let's be generous and say there's 250 million people holding Bitcoin. Okay, there's 250 million people holding Bitcoin. That's less than 5% of the earth, or maybe it's like, what, 200, I don't know. Yeah, it's like less than 5% of the planet probably. I don't think we know how to fix anything when we haven't even gotten the total market into the thing to fix. So when people say, oh, we're adding features, we're adding value, it's like, to who? Like, to you? No. Well, what about the other 88% or 95% of people that are coming into the market? Will they want what you want? Oh, I don't know, but like, I hope they do. It's going to be really cool. And like, it's like, you already lost. Like, it's already just so cooked. Every time you're making decisions in Bitcoin, I think it should be thought of as, will this be useful for someone in 25 years? Basically, oh, you're going to add a feature? Is that useful for someone in 25 years? Oh, well, it's really useful for us now because, let's say, NFTs are really hot or stable coins are really hot. And this allows Bitcoin to capture that, blah, blah, blah. That's fine, but it's not really relevant. We should always think about it as like public infrastructure. Like, if the highway works and it's not broken and it helps millions and millions of people go from one place to another in their life, don't break it. Don't add a fucking McDonald's on the way. Don't add that shit. Like, we don't need that shit. Keep the highway and keep everything else, like, let's focus. Let's focus on something. And if you don't focus on something, you can't go forward. And so when people like to say, oh, Bitcoin's for everything, that's just loser chat. It's not for everything. It's money. Like, it's not even a debate. It's money. And so to say that is just sort of like trying to define ice cream to your children and saying, well, it's actually food, so I'm not a bad person feeding my kids. It's like, you know better. Like,
that's a good analogy. Yeah.
There's nothing else to say. You know better, and your ego will have that conversation with you when you're ready. The end.
Like me, you're a Bitcoin conservative, the way the mechanic would describe it. He's like, Bitcoin conservative.
With big shit that's very expensive and very precious and very fragile and very, very important to the future, I don't want to, I'm conservative. Keep the national parks green and keep Bitcoin the same. We preserve things that are really valuable, that are really hard to reproduce. And the hardest thing on earth to reproduce about Bitcoin it's not how to hash a transaction or how to get consensus. Well, it's basically an unchanged protocol for 16 years. Show me something that has not changed in the past 16 years in this environment. Like, wild. And so when we think about that, it's like, oh shit, we need to be treating this like it's a precious resource. This is a watering hole for the whole planet to drink from. Just like you see in Africa. The zebras are drinking next to the hyenas, who are drinking next to the leopards or whatever. They put the tools down when everyone needs water, and then they get back to killing each other later. But they don't shit in that thing, basically, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't want litter on my chain. I don't want fucking toilet paper rolls in the ocean or chip wrappers. Like, it's common sense. And you can argue it all you want, but arguing it just means that you're sort of dignifying, you're sort of illuminating a lack of common sense. Like, you're trying to argue with me whether Bitcoin's money or not. I'm not arguing with, can it technically possibly be this thing maybe with 8 changes in 6 years? Anything can be anything. That's not smart to identify something as like a problem. Identifying solutions is smart. Everyone can identify problems. That's not a hard thing. It's very easy to be negative. It's very easy to understand like what could be better. But if you don't provide solutions with your chat, I find it pretty it's sort of like you're just letting your inner voice talk out loud, but it's not really a constructive value adding combo. Yeah. I say that as like someone who just absolutely yaps their head off. So yeah. Like, I mean, like I'm talking to myself in this case too.
I was actually going to ask you about Australian Bitcoiners, if on your travels you've noticed a difference, like cultural differences between Australian Bitcoiners and Bitcoiners from overseas and other countries, doesn't matter where from. I mean, I've heard some interesting things, but I'm keen to know what your take is.
No, I reckon everyone, that's probably the most refreshing thing. Everyone is speaking the same language.
Yeah.
You know, like for me, that's been the easiest. You find alignment so quick. And after realizing, like after this, I'm like, damn, now I get why religion is massive. Like, it fully makes sense. Hey, I don't know you. Hey, I don't know you either. But are you religious? Yeah, same religion. Hey, all right, we got that in common. And you follow the same 10 values or 10 commandments that I do or whatever it is. So it sort of like helps expedite alignment. Yeah. Wait, what was the question originally? Hold
on. If you've noticed that like Australian Bitcoin, the culture,
not personally, no.
Yeah.
Like having worked in America and spent most of my time with the American Bitcoin community and then coming back to Australia, I didn't think there was much different. Everyone's got the same things that make them happy, same things that give them the shits, you know, like it's the same conversation. And most of that's going to be the case because we're all getting information from the same sources, you know?
Yeah.
And that is what community is, but it keeps the alignment. Like, yeah, I think it's really powerful when you feel like you are with your people. It's like, oh my God, this is what having friends feels like. Great. You know, whatever it is.
I love that you said that. Make friends as an adult, and it's interesting because I've engaged in so many different activities as an adult, whether it's like free diving or salsa dancing. Like until I got into Bitcoin, I didn't really feel like the sense of community that I feel in any other sort of interest group. And I feel like I can travel anywhere in the world and join a meetup and just strike up a conversation and really connect with people unlike anywhere else. It's wild.
100%. And one of the things I heard at the Bitcoin Bush Bash was, you know, it was from Wiz, Wizard of Oz, Aussie guy, and great guy, smart guy, and he started the Bush Bash, and he said Bitcoin everyone is 80% the same, but there's these 20% edges where you're a Bitcoiner and I'm a Bitcoiner, but I'm a Bitcoiner who is obsessed with rock climbing, and you're a Bitcoiner who's obsessed with plumbing or something, I don't know, like some different thing, right? Like totally unrelated or whatever it is. Yeah, salsa dancing. So you're obsessed with salsa dancing, I'm obsessed with rock climbing, but having that common ground and that common alignment, that makes for super interesting, fast-paced conversations because you've got 80% of, oh, you're the same as me kind of thing, basically, but mostly. Now, what's your other, like, quirk? What are you into? Oh, well, my thing is, you know, your thing, whatever, salsa dancing. But that brings these kind of, it's like sprinkles on the cupcake. It's like all the cupcakes are the same, but there's a different frosting on some of them. And you're like, oh, this is the cherry frosting one. And you talk to the guy that's obsessed with cherries. Or, oh, they've got a rock climbing cupcake. It's got a little rock climber guy on the top. Whatever it is. But it's sort of like that. It's just like different flavors of the same thing, basically. But it means that when you talk to them, you can translate information much faster because I can use Bitcoin as an analogy to things, and you know that to the depths of your knowledge. And so we can sort of fast-paced connecting the dots between different parts of society, whether it's you being into salsa dancing and someone being into rock climbing. You guys can connect all the dots. It's like... you can just understand the mechanics of how stuff works. Yeah, I don't know.
I love it. Yeah, I love it because you can immediately skip the small talk, and
Yes,
I can
that's what I
meet.
mean. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I can meet like a brand new person I've never met before and instantly connect with them and go into conversations that you wouldn't typically have with people, say, at work. I can bring up
Yeah.
politics, I can bring up taxation, I can bring up all these different things and hear their perspective without either party getting angry or defensive about it. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate, yeah, I really appreciate that element in our community as well. What
Oh,
else?
healthy discussion.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the coolest things. Like, I think it's awesome because you get to listen to these, really clever people with lots of experience going back and forth, and then they shake hands and they go for a beer. I like that. I think it's great because everyone's only arguing for the same thing, usually, which is Bitcoin to win. And like, if you think about it, Bitcoin is very like it's like a world group project, basically. You remember at university how it's like, you get guys, everyone get into teams of 4, you're going to be doing your group assignment for the term. It's like that, but forever. So the group assignment is Bitcoin, and we've got to make it last forever. So I think people know that, and we sort of carry a certain responsibility, almost like, I think it's like humanity's child, and we need to raise it. And so we want to give it good values. We don't want it to inherit all the dog shit that we are as humans. Like, it's a chance to create a greener pasture, not bring all the dog shit again, as I said, but like bring the old stuff that's trash and put it onto Bitcoin. It's like, ugh, that stuff's loser town, dude. Like, get out of here. We got a high bar, high standard, I think. But I also think Bitcoin's been like, I literally personify it like like Michael Jordan or something. I think of it like Michael Jordan. It's like a 16-year-old or a 17-year-old dude. Yep. And like, I think about it like that because it's like, well, it's our responsibility to protect it or him because it's out on its own. It doesn't have parents. It doesn't have family. It doesn't have friends. It has people that want it to win, and that's all that matters. And so, like, if everyone took that same approach that they have with Bitcoin, which is wanting it to succeed, imagine if we did that with our friends and, colleagues and stuff. Like, we went out of our way to make sure that people succeed. I think that's incredible.
It is.
Like, that's cool. It's a cool that we've all got that soft spot for Bitcoin, I think it's, it's mad.
It really is. And what I love about it, like I'm going to take some surfing classes, and I overheard a school today, and the instructor was talking to the students about weather conditions and giving this really comprehensive lesson on weather. So I thought about this for a second. It's like you go to learn about surfing, but then you have this secondary benefit of learning about weather conditions and understanding how different types of winds work. And I feel like I thought about this because for Bitcoin, it's like I feel that's one area that just expands your interest in so many different vast areas of interest that you can just forever keep going down different rabbit holes, and that's what's the most beautiful thing about it. You might start with, I guess, I don't know, Austrian economics, and then really get into cryptography, and then get into protocols.
Dude, 100%. That's literally me. I'm like, oh, cool, Bitcoin. Then you get all these different like little avenues that, because it's a dependency, right? I've tried to think about why is it when you get into Bitcoin, you start seeing everything differently. So what it is, you start realizing how money flows, I think, and in the traditional system, and why Bitcoin is good. Because to understand why Bitcoin's good, it means you have to understand the problem that it was trying to fix. And so when you understand that problem, what happens is, firstly, you put on your critical thinking cap. So you like chuck it on. You're like, all right, piece by piece, what's going on? And you go through it, and as you start forcing yourself to do critical thinking, like, great example, wallets. Oh, I put it onto this, then I put it onto that. Like, every time you move your private key, you are like, is there anything else here? Nope. Like, you're so paranoid about it almost. And that's because, like, that teaches you critical thinking. So when you're like, oh, I can't put it onto that USB. My mum used that for the family photos and it got infected and maybe it's going to ruin. You've got to be really, really cautious in that regard. So the critical thinking, it opens your mind to critical thinking and understanding how the frame by frame, going step by step will benefit you. So what you do, you've got critical thinking and now you understand the power of incentives because that's what Bitcoin revolves around, is incentive models. So now you look at Bitcoin, you're like, okay, cool. That's Bitcoin. Then you look back at the old system and you're like, it's like you've just woken up from a dream or something. You're like, oh my, how? Like, how did I not see this already? And it's just like, you just see the machine, the cogs in the machine. They're paying them to make them vote for that, and that's getting there, and da-da-da. And you start understanding incentives and critical thinking so much that it's almost as if you see everything in a new light. So you start looking at everything like, oh my God. So you look at politics, you look at business, you look at finance, you look at history. Like, and that's why a lot of people can go into the like crazy conspiracy valley, because it's like, well, I'm thinking and I see all these incentives of the old system. And they just basically immediately go, well, okay, basically the entire system is cooked. And then they think, well, they've been lying about that, so maybe they're lying about all the other stuff. And then it's like, then it goes one. Then people just don't let the thread go, and they're like, okay, the moon landing was fake, this was fake, that was fake, everything's fake. And it's kind of like you kind of get to the other side of the rabbit hole almost, where everything becomes fake. But I'm not really there yet. I try not to give too much thought to that. Like, my feed pumps me with like, it's like it's trying to make me more of a conspiracy theorist or something. The only thing you can do when it's too noisy is just check out, turn your phone off, like the end.
Yeah, the way I think about it, it's like, to me, it's almost the truth is crazier than the reality. And when you understand the global financial system as it is, you don't really need to go down conspiracy theories, because the way you understand it, it already sounds like a conspiracy theory. Yeah. You know, just the truth.
It sounds ridiculous. Yeah. Like when you tell your friends.
Entirely verifiable information that's
yes, that's it.
And available it's like to anyone. Sounds like a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Literally.
Yeah.
It's just so bizarre. But I think one of the hardest things about it actually is maintaining relationships at a meaningful level with people around you in your life that aren't in the same journey. It's challenging. Like, you know, people call them normies or whatever, but like, you know, I do like the idea of just hanging out with my friends, talking about sport and doing stuff like that. Like, it doesn't have to be Bitcoin 24/7. And I think there's some healthy balance there. But I definitely find sometimes people can feel quite alienated, you know, because they're like, oh my God, but no one, wake up. It's like you're trying to yell at everyone to wake up or whatever. So sometimes people can feel alienated, or they can feel like they're sort of crazy, because they're like, oh my God, if I just nuked my whole life going all in on this thing, and maybe I'm overthinking it and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but it's I won't say courageous, but yeah, you gotta play the game basically and go for it, I think. And so, yeah, I think that a lot of people have had these experiences at one point in their journey where they feel quite alienated, or they don't feel like their old social circles are serving them or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I just think we're really lucky to have it, to be honest. Like,
yeah.
The world is so cooked right now. Like, it's like bonkers. Like, everyone is shitting on everyone. Everyone's bombing everyone. Everyone hates each other. Everyone's pissed off. Everyone's overworked, underpaid, too anxious, mental health issues. Like, mental health, right? It was Men's Mental Health Month for June, I think. But listen to this for stats. Like, this is how cooked the world is. Yeah. One dude every 3 hours and 40 minutes, one guy in Australia will kill himself. That's insane. Under
Western
age
Australia
of 40,
in particular, rural Western Australia has a very bad problem with this.
Oh, it's so bad. It's like, yo, this is half the species, guys. Girls, if you don't like guys and you're feminist, no worries. You can't have kids. We need guys, we need girls. We need both of them. And men under the age of 40 in the UK. Oh my God. the number one cause of death isn't stabbings, it's not diabetes, it's not car accidents, it's people tapping out. And that is just like, if I always think about this, but like, man, I just wish sometimes that these people got Bitcoin, like, because it is honestly the biggest declutterer for your mind, and it can give a lot to your brain and your mental health. At the same time, it can obviously send you into a tiz where you're like, what the hell is actually going on? Sure, but that's more, enjoy that part. But like, life isn't meant to be, sitting on the edge of your bed, questioning everything you've ever done, and then topping yourself. Like, like, that's not the way to do it. And I think Bitcoin has got a breath of life in it that will change a lot of people that are currently like that. It's not about like, oh, I got Bitcoin at 100 grand and now it's 10 million. Yeah, I'm rich. I'm not unhappy anymore. I think they'll get more of a sense of belonging, community, and also like something to cheer for. Because one of the problems with when we have access to everything as individuals, all of our like everything delivered. If I want a TV delivered in 2 hours, I can literally press like 5 buttons and it happens. But like that isolation and that individualism kind of thing with, everyone's empowered, everyone can do everything themselves. Yeah, that's fine. You need to depend on your community and you need to give to your community. So it's like, you buy your shit from the local butcher called Dave, and you get your coffee from the local coffee shop from the, the guy called Tim. And that's what they do. They're the coffee guy, that's the butcher, and you got your plumber and you got your this. But as people get more individual and not community orientated, we lose a higher purpose or a goal. And typically before that is like holding a responsibility over us, God and Jesus and stuff like that. Religion has a very powerful way of doing that, where it makes you realize that it's not you and it's something bigger than you. And now you start working towards that bigger thing. And you do your best work when you're not working for yourself. You're working towards something else as part of a team. And so, I don't know, I think that's that's quite interesting just to me, just in general. The amount of declutter people have had in their lives. And yeah, I think there's a lot of residual effects of Bitcoin and going on a Bitcoin standard. But you have to do the work, and that's where it gets harder and harder. So every single day that you don't start looking into Bitcoin, not only are the Bitcoin is running away from you now, but also your dopamine center is getting worse and worse. As we age and as we use screens more, and as we mix those two behaviors together, aging and screen time, it will only get harder to understand. It's like saying, hey, you're 10 years old, get in a really good habit of brushing your teeth every morning and every night and showering before you go to school. Because when you're old, you want to do that. And if you don't have a habit of it developed when it's easier, it's only going to be like, it's always harder as you get older to change things, like change your habits, change your character, whatever. So I think that's quite a thing where people can use it people can use it as a source of responsibility almost. And it does become quite religious in that way, because you're operating for something beyond yourself. And the moment you start acting truly with the intent like that, it becomes like a reshaping of your brain, where it's not it's not about me and me trying to be like, how do I do this and this and this? It's like, oh, I've got this thing that I'm working on. It's like people that collect model trains. They go to their model train meetup and they have that, that 1 hour a month where it's just nothing but straight model train conversation. And everyone loves it and it fills their cup up because they see all these other people that are like-minded. And I think when you have like-minded people all together, it provides like a boost of confidence individually for each of you. Like even you, right? You said you go to a Bitcoin meetup, you can find a conversation, you'll be able to slide right in. It's sort of like an express path. It's like taking the elevator instead of the stairs. A lot of conversation, you'll be able to skip the walking up the stairs. I just took the elevator. I'm with Bitcoin. Hey, great. Yeah. Did you see that thing the other day? Yeah, I did. How shit's that? Doesn't matter what country you're from. You're all looking at the same things because these are all the same things concerning your baby or, the baby Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and doesn't matter what age the person is, doesn't matter what gender they are, what nationality. It's like it's just
no,
a fast
it,
track to that
it,
conversation.
yeah, I think that's cool. I tell you what's really cool, like seeing like so the guy from Metaplanet, Dylan Leclerc or Dylan Eclair or something.
Yep.
Dylan Leclerc, I think it is. He's on Metaplanet board. He's like super young, right? And you
Yeah.
never see these finance cats that are ever super young. And I think that is like just cool. I think it's cool that a 20-year-old is excited about money and like and changing money. Like that means that there's so much hope coming through, you know? And also
Yep.
like when I was 20, I didn't give a shit about money, like financial markets and stuff. Idiot. Like I was trying to drink a liter of vodka a day or whatever it is, you know, like when you're 20 at uni, like you're doing everything. So it's like, yeah, I got that by the way, liter a day for 1 year. No, I didn't. God, I have cirrhosis of the liver or septicemia, poisoning of the blood. But yeah, so I think that's super encouraging. I think that's really cool because I'd like to see more people that are young, whether they're 18 to 30, making an impact in things that matter. Like, bro, don't go do this and do that. Like they should be the ones making the change because when they're 40, they'll have had 20 years experience. Like that's insane. And not like, oh, we got to give it to the 65-year-old dude because he's the oldest guy in the room and he'll know what's best. No, like I'm over that. Like look at the decision making we've got. This is what we've got. The best thing made by humanity was built by someone anonymously. That's how bad that system is. They can't make
Yeah.
something better than that. And so
Well, I'm
when you
glad
look
that
at
it
all
was. Yeah.
of course, what a blessing. Can you
Yep.
imagine you'd be in a fucking mental institution without Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, that's
I
one of the
would be.
questions
I
I was
definitely
going
would be.
to ask you. Like, can you imagine your life now without Bitcoin? Because to me, that would be the most scariest thing to
Petrifying.
imagine. Yep.
Petrifying.
Yep.
Absolutely petrifying. And I get scared every day that I'm like, oh, what if it goes away? Oh my God. What happens if Bitcoin? Oh my
You
God,
can't.
no. And then that, when you think about that, that's when you actually go, no, I've got to run a node or I've got to take action. And you want to take some sort of action. You go buy a
Yep.
Bidax miner or whatever it is. I've got my Bidax over there. It's actually off at the moment. But the hash rate
Nice.
dropped materially because of that Iran bombing. So I'm actually
Yep.
like now like, oh, this is a great value capture. I could possibly mine for a more efficient thing now that the difficulty's gone down. So
Do you
take
run
advantage of it.
knots?
But
Do you run
yeah,
knots? Yep.
yeah,
Of course you
yeah.
do.
Well, no. Like I think I support the knots conversation. I do, and I don't. Obviously, Core was fantastic. So were the so were the 95 Bulls in the NBA. But it doesn't mean I'm going to bet on the Bulls to win this year because Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan used to play for them. Like, if Core's had a material rotation of developers and community members since their really awesome work, then I'm just going to judge them. I'm not going to judge them by the people. I'll just judge them by the work. And so I think the work seems contentious. Like they said no to something 2 years ago. They made their own sort of mess. I think they fumbled the bag. Basically, it looks like. But you know, a lot of people go, "Oh, Bitcoin Knots is maintained by one developer." Yeah, and it's a fork of Bitcoin Core. Or you want 30 developers maintaining a fork? Like, no, I don't think so. But also, if you have 30 developers on a product that is to run a distributed system, that's the perfect way to attack it, in my opinion. Like if someone said, hey, you got to break Bitcoin, I'd be like, okay, sweet. Well, let's go compromise the developers. So when people go, oh, you know, Knots is run by one person, great. That's one person that can be compromised. That's one person's value system I have to understand. That's one person who can be paid or not paid, but it's one. Like the attack vector is social in Bitcoin always
I do
because it's a
trust him a
network.
lot.
Well, you trust him a lot, but that's okay because if it's wrong, you know exactly who to shoot. Like not
Yep.
literally, but you know what I mean? Like you know the person who's
Yeah.
eating the shit sandwich. Who did this? You know, if you're at work, who did this? Fuck, I was the only person on that project. Great. Accountability. That is perfect. When you've got a
Yeah.
sea of fucking half-assed conversations going on and like, oh, we got 30 developers. Great, that's terrible news. I don't want 30 developers because that's 30 human beings, which are the weakest link in every single system. You're telling me like that's a good thing. Hey, I've got 30 weak links. You've only got one. It's like, what? I'll take the one every day of the week because I know if you're attacking them, the attacker doesn't want one guy to compromise. That's not good. You want 30 people because that's 30 shots on goal. Hey, man, I need you to put through this code review. Like, hey, I need you to update the code. Okay, cool. If the NOTS guy says no, there's no other way to do it. But if you've got 30 people on a team or 10 people on a team, you can plan with one guy for 6 months before to bring in the third guy 3 months in to then and you plot your course. That's what people do. That is what happens in the real world. And people are looking at it like, oh, that's so ridiculous to think. No, this is a $2 trillion asset. Like, we're not pulling your dick in your basement. Like, this is real. This is as real as it gets. And I'm not like gonna not overthink something because there's 500 million people or 1 billion people waiting to have this same beautiful experience with Bitcoin that I have had, you have had, So do you think we just keep it down? And that's how I think about it because I think everyone does really good work. And I think we're really lucky to have everyone doing good work and everyone bickering and arguing because that's good. That's healthy discussion, especially when people are passionate. Nothing more dangerous than apathy. That's the only thing that can kill Bitcoin, in my opinion, is apathy. Which
I
is
love this. Yeah. I love this
which
about Bitcoiners that we're so disagreeable.
yeah, super disagreeable. And like, I'm all for it. I'm happy for the conversation. But like when it becomes when it becomes sort of, they try and hero speak where it's like, oh, this is too technical. You wouldn't understand. You better start helping me understand then because I'm the guy that's voting. So you don't have to. But the long story short is that no matter what, division is the worst thing possible. And some people like thriving on that, but they don't realize this isn't a product. This isn't tech. This is a social experiment. Because if the social layer breaks, everything else breaks. Oh, well, it's technical. It's still up and running. No one gives a shit about Bitcoin anymore. The social layer broke. It's not immutable. It keeps changing. The social layer is the defense system. So when people sort of bring technical nuance to a conversation about social, I don't think that adds value. And I think it also misses it sort of speaks more to their understanding than their misunderstanding, or speaks more to their misunderstanding than their understanding. Again, I'm just literally one other node on the network though. And I genuinely don't know what's best for Bitcoin. But I think when you do not know what something is, safest bet is to always stay put. If it's not a hell yes, it should be a hard no. Yeah. And so like, that's pretty straightforward. And people are trying to think like, oh, it is a hell yes. You guys are the minority or whatever. It's like, no one's the minority. There's no consensus on anything. But the moment people start getting frustrated that's when they start taking more action. So I don't know, but it's been interesting. I haven't seen something make Bitcoin look as mortal as that recently, that NOTS conversation, just because it was so polarizing. Everyone thought they had the same baseline of this is what we're working to make Bitcoin as. And then sort of through that discussion, a lot of those assumptions broke. And it's like, well, did they break or did opportunity interrupt them? Like, so did that person really not understand what was going on with money and thinking it was money? Or is a new opportunity presented themselves where they're happy to compromise on that? Oh, but you know what? I lost heaps fucking buying these terrible BRC20, ordinals. I lost heaps of money doing that. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, well, I'm going to make it back by trading this coin. That's how people lose their stack. They have one bad trade and then they try and trade out of that and they lose their whole stack. Yeah. And so when I see people switching gears, I'm like, how bad is your gambling problem? Like, that's all I think when they're like, no, Bitcoin's money. And they're like, actually, we should, I'm going to launch a token. And then it's like, how badly down are you? Like, because you should have been following the manuscript this whole time. Buy $5, whatever you can afford per day, and you'll be okay. But anyway, I think either way, it's nice that people are, you know what, it's a privilege to have a community that gives a shit.
Yeah,
At least they give a shit. And that's
for sure.
everyone gets a gold star, in my opinion, for just giving a shit. So,
Yeah.
that's better than nothing.
But I also love the contrast between normies or regular people thinking what they assume to be the risks in Bitcoin, and then the conversations that we have internally, like so different,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. It's very different.
we don't talk about volatility.
No. No,
Yeah.
that was obviously, that was the conversation at the beginning because you needed to explain it. But now a lot of people go, yeah, Bitcoin's volatile, but their default is like, yeah, but it keeps going up. So that volatility fear is actually not as common anymore. I feel like it used to be what they lead with, but now everyone sort of knows that Bitcoin just keeps going. And that's what it should be known for. It keeps going.
Yeah. I
Because
think
that's
maybe you
like,
might be spending a bit too much time on Twitter, because that's not my experience. Like when I've
really?
spent some time, when I've spent some time on LinkedIn, just posting a
Oh,
few things here and there about, Bitcoin, and it was interesting because it did draw a lot of attention from traditional finance, really criticizing it, and then subsequently criticizing me personally,
yeah.
and some like quite, big names, or not so much names, but titles like CEOs
Yeah.
of companies, CEOs of ASX listed companies, had a lot to, negative things to say. So it is eye-opening to see how early we are still in this conversation, especially
Yeah.
in Australia. I don't think, like, I had a look at Natalie Brunel's LinkedIn. I was like, are people giving her the same sort of criticism? And they're not, because in America, I think the landscape and the climate is very, very different. People are a lot
Yeah.
more accepting and understanding of it. And obviously, like, the adoption is a lot higher there.
Yeah. The
But it's,
conversation's further along, I think.
yeah, we are behind, because I still keep getting questions about volatility is like the main one. Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. This one gives me an eye twitch every time I hear it. And then, do you think quantum computing is a threat?
Yep.
And it's like,
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Quantum computing, the last thing it will go for is Bitcoin because
exactly. We've got
Bitcoin's
bigger
its
problems to
waterhole.
worry about.
Like, other than someone trying to break it out of principle for notoriety, but
Yeah.
any person, like Alan Turing during the war, when they broke Enigma, they didn't come out and say, fuck you, we broke Enigma. They were like, we can't tell anyone because then they'll keep sending messages. So I think quantum would be the same. They would make sure that they're just taking from dormant addresses or whatever. But yeah, it's Bitcoin's the last place you want to probably try and like hack or compromise, because that's going to be the thing feeding you forever. You don't so that's how I think about that. Banks, all those systems and stuff, they just get totally wiped. Not even wiped, just deformed. It's like someone having access to your quarterly financial statement in Excel, and you get to go to bed and you give 10,000 people write access so they can write in whatever they want. When you wake up in the morning, odds are it's going to be very different to what you left it. Oh, hey guys, here's my quarterly results spreadsheet. Can I leave it with you and not touch it? Even though you got access to change it, can I guarantee? Yeah, sweet. You wake up in the morning, it'll be totally different. And that's exactly what a quantum computer will do to our timeline of internet. It'll just go through everything and change it all. Like, change whatever it wants, which basically means that when you've changed everything, you don't have anything anymore. And so you kind of just sort of say farewell to this big data set, that gets put on pause from there. And there's post-quantum cryptography and stuff, but post-quantum cryptography is still not the answer. That's like a Band-Aid on a broken arm. The bigger problem is that all this stuff comes back to the same thing, which is prime numbers. And so all cryptography is dependent on prime numbers, but we know very little about them. And that means, like, we don't know why they show up or how they show up or where they show up, but they keep showing up. And so that mystery becomes the perfect place to use as identity. Like if I want uniqueness, prime number's unique, so I make sure I use prime numbers in RSA cryptography, in elliptic curve cryptography, Fields prime. Yeah, basically they show up everywhere. But if one mathematician knew something that the rest of the world didn't, they own the world. Like, own it. Not even like this is what keeps me up at night. Because there's so many smart cats out there. It's like, someone's going to get, these problems aren't hard enough to not be solved. Like, that's what I mean. It's sort of like it doesn't feel hard enough that they can't be solved. And it feels like the only reason they're not solved yet is because a lot of people haven't put their attention to it. But once you have everyone running on cryptography, which is, on digital assets and shit like that, Bitcoin, everyone's going to know about cryptography. And then people get greedy and they go, well, how do I break cryptography? It's like, well, what's it made out of? And they go, well, prime numbers. And they go, well, how do we break prime numbers? Well, let's get some maths nerds in to focus on this. And they put resources to it. These things happen under times of real critical duress. So, they split the atom, right? With the nuclear bomb, they figured out how to split the atom, but just before it. I think if we had another war, the next big win would be splitting the hash, basically. Who can break a hash or a key? And that will grant access to the world, basically. So whoever's in charge, whatever countries are fighting or whatever, that's the new atom bomb because it steals everything instantly. And it's just a maths equation. And so that is like, that's fascinating to me. All these things, they're real threats. That's a real threat. Quantum, I get it. It's cool. Like, it's exciting, but it's the wrong direction. Quantum everything. I just think quantum mechanics is a broken, approach to physics. It's statistical and probabilistic. So I just never, anytime I hear the word quantum, I'm like, it's probabilistic somewhere down there, which means it's not mechanical, which means it's probably flawed. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got.
Love it. And last question for you, Michael. Do you have any recommendations for people who are new to this space and want to, you've got their curiosity now. What are some of the practical next steps?
I definitely think getting some Bitcoin podcasts in your diet. So if you're listening to this, fantastic. Thank you very much for listening. But other ones as well that you might want to listen to as a primer to understand if you're, if you just want to get the building blocks, like what's the Welcome to Bitcoin? I usually look at Robert Breedlove's Saylor series. I think that's really powerful. And I think Michael Saylor is such a fantastic speaker, and he's very elegant with how he frames things for the most part. So I think he's very easy to learn from. He's a great educator. And I think that's probably one of his biggest superpowers in the space and the contributions that he's made. So I always send people that direction because I feel safe sending them there. I don't feel like they're going to come back and be like, mate, what was that dog shit that you gave me? That was a waste of 3 hours, so.
Yeah.
Anyway. But that's what I'd say. And I'd say as well, don't worry about stupid questions. There is no stupid questions. And if you needed to hear it from me or anyone, trust me on this one, I've asked more stupid questions than if you heard some of these questions that I would have asked. You'd be like, oh, that guy needs to be in a hospital. He has no brain in his head. Like, seriously. And so everyone has been there. Everyone. This is foreign stuff. This isn't made in China. It's not made in America. We don't know where it's come from. So until then, we call it alien tech. And now there's no stupid questions when it comes to that. Everyone is a beginner. And the best part is everyone's story arc is usually the same or similar, just staggered differently in different time intervals or whatever. But everyone has been in your shoes before. If you are new to this industry, everyone is willing to help you understand because everyone has gotten so much from it. And it's not about a Ponzi scheme where they're getting paid. It's more like their life cup has been filled up from it. And it's really supported them as an individual on a personal level and emotionally and stuff like that. And so I'd say go easy on yourself, but, put yourself in the mix. Go to a meetup, start listening to some podcasts. Hey, if you're not listening to shit about this, how to fix your money, I don't know what you're learning about, but it's probably a good idea because no matter whether if you're 20 years old or 40 years old, if you don't understand money, you're going to have a very challenging next 20 or 40 years. The person who understands money the best will figure out a way to get it and move on with life first. But yeah, you need to be investing your time and energy or your mind into this. Don't need to be paying for stuff and buying courses or anything like that. Everything you need is free, and every person that you need to speak to is probably willing to speak to you about it. And I find that's quite cool. A lot of people are waiting for people to come around. They're waiting like, hey man, look, okay, can you just tell me about this Bitcoin thing? And you're like, oh, yes, they're coming. They're interested, because interest is such a big part of it. If you're not interested, you can't make anyone do anything, right? Like interest is what separates the persistent from the non-persistent. People that train 20 hours a day for golf versus someone who trains 3 hours a day. I'm more persistent because I'm more interested. I don't feel like I'm training. I feel like I'm out in the fresh air doing the exact thing I'm obsessed with. The only reason I'm not training right now is because I have to sleep. It's almost like kids with video games. Like imagine going up to a kid and being like, hey, how would you like to get paid to do this all day, every day? I'm doing it all day, every day anyway. Thanks for the free money. That's what purpose feels like. It feels like you're getting paid to do something that you do not think you should be getting paid for, and it feels way too easy for the money you're getting. Bitcoin's a lot like that. It will be good to you if you take the time. You owe it to yourself, basically.
Yeah. It's the single best investment you can make is first learning about Bitcoin and
1,000%
allocate accordingly.
100%. Oh, yep. Definitely agree.
All right. Thanks, Michael.
That's it for this week on The Honest Money Show. Big thanks to Bitteroo. Check out why more Aussies are choosing them at bitteroo.com.au. And shout out to our listeners on Fountain, where you can earn sats just by tuning in. If you appreciate the way we cut through the noise, you can support us directly via the QR code in the episode notes. Until next week, take care of yourself and your money.